With regard to the markets, it's going to correct at one point, and it's not just a matter of a correction. It's a matter of the debt market's going to melt down, and it's being so hyperinflated right now again, and it's a vicious cycle. The more debt they issue, the more they must issue in the form of currency and whatever else here, because it just demands more of it as we move forward. It's a self-destructive mechanism, and meanwhile, what are we finding out recently here? Central banks hoarding gold, hoarding it at a faster pace than they have ever. We have hedge funds, investment banks hoarding gold. The richest people on this planet hoarding gold, more so than we've ever seen before. What do they know that we're not allowed to know?
You're watching Silver News Daily. Subscribe for more.
Did you know the collapse of the dollar could be just around the corner? Central banks' greed and negligence have driven inflation to uncontrollable levels, but there's a way to protect yourself from the coming crisis. Gregory Mannarino, one of the sharpest minds in finance, has uncovered the ultimate safeguard: silver. In this video, we'll break down why central banks are playing a dangerous game with our economy and why silver is the lifeline you need right now to survive the fallout. Stick around, because what you're about to hear might just save your financial future.
Anywhere around the world, we don't have a real market. It's all been twisted via this same mechanism here. It's an incredible thing, really is. But, look, this is my view, all of it, playing into what you just laid out beautifully just before I started talking here, is all part of the same thing, to bring the people down to their knees and have them beg for something, beg for a solution. All we're being provided is more of a way to railroad us down a very destructive pathway. These calls from the both presidential selectees for lower rates, promises of lower rates. Obviously, that means a weaker currency. It doesn't help us here. It helps the corporate agenda. The mom and pop shops are gone. Small businesses can't survive in this environment. We need the polar opposite of what we've been sold here via this mechanism. What we're being sold right now, again, by both presidential selectees. The solution is very simple. The 1 and 2 percenters, they're the ones that benefit from this. Is called the Cantillon effect. I urge people to look that up. I think we spoke about this recently, you and I. While the bottom, the middle class is being systematically exterminated via the mechanism you just outlined here. It's just the ripple effect of this phenomenon of what central banks are doing. We've never seen anything like it before. And then this means all this is, with regard to the markets, it's going to correct at one point. And it's not just a matter of a correction. It's a matter of the debt market's going to melt down. And it's being so hyperinflated right now again. And it's a vicious cycle. The more debt they issue, the more they must issue in the form of currency and whatever else here, because it just demands more of it as we move forward. It's a self-destructive mechanism. And meanwhile, what are we finding out recently here? Central banks hoarding gold, hoarding it at a faster pace than they have ever. We have hedge funds, investment banks hoarding gold. The richest people on this planet hoarding gold, more so than we've ever seen before. What do they know that we're not allowed to know? We're not supposed to know. Well, people who follow our work are well versed in what's going on here, why they're doing what they're doing here, betting against the system here. Central banks are betting against the system that they're forcing us to participate in by buying gold.
For years, central banks have painted themselves as the guardians of economic stability, but the truth is far from reassuring. Their relentless money printing and low interest rate policies have driven inflation to levels we haven't seen in decades. While they claim to be fighting inflation, the reality is that they've been the very architects of this crisis. Think about it. After flooding the world with cheap money for years, they'd now lost control of the inflation monster they created. The problem is, this isn't just a temporary issue. It's deeply rooted in a system that's been stretched to its breaking point. Central banks, particularly the Federal Reserve, have kept the economy running on artificial life support by pushing rates to historic lows and pumping trillions into the system. But every time they print more money, the value of the dollar erodes just a little bit more. And who pays the price? Everyday people like us, struggling with higher prices for groceries, gas, and just about everything else. What's worse, the central banks know exactly what they're doing. While they publicly downplay the risks, privately, they're preparing for the worst. They'd been hoarding gold in unprecedented quantities, signaling that even they don't trust the system they've built. And while gold gets all the headlines, Silver might just be the real safe haven no one is talking about yet.
They always. But what we're seeing here is a phenomenon that I don't think shocks anyone or is surprising. But we have the current environment is as such. We have a contracting global economy, contracting extremely rapidly. Meanwhile, we got central banks collectively ballooning the global money supply. Now, this is a vicious cycle. The more currency that is issued by a central bank, the more it loses value. So with that said, it should not be a surprise that we're seeing what we're seeing right now is central banks flooding the world with more currency, which is, of course, their goal, their end game, to inflate. This is their single power. I think most people who follow our work understands that. At least I hope they do. Now we have this new phase, which, well, it's actually it already started. There are already several central banks around the world involved in emergency monetary policy, quantitative easing here, creating cash out of nothing, getting into the debt market and buying the debt. The Fed is doing this right now, although they haven't made the announcement. It's kind of astonishing. We have rates here in the United States plummeting, mortgage rates at almost a 2-year low, but the Fed's not cutting rates. You know, they're not cutting rates because they haven't made the announcement yet. It's incredible. People have become so, I have to say this, dumbed down that they have to be told things like infantile entities. The Fed is obviously in here buying all the debt, suppressing rates here. This is bleeding off, suppressing yields, which is bleeding off and causing rates to fall. They're going to make this announcement this month here. This is the first trading week of this new month here into September. And, you know, it's just not going to stop. We're going to see, what did we witness over the weekend? Like more war, expanding war, more death, more pain, more suffering. This is part of the mechanism here. I don't know what they're going to throw at us, but it's going to entail a lot more debt expansion here. Moving into 2025, and I've been telling people this for a very long time, it looks like things are going to change rapidly. The system is not sustainable. It's period in the end. Bank runs are inevitable. A series of closures are inevitable. A lot of stuff is being hidden from the public here. The system is insolvent. It's bankrupt, operates in a perpetual vacuum. And the only mechanism here to keep the illusion real is by, of course, pumping more debt into the system, leading us to a grand finale, a climax, which is going to be designed to bring people to their knees so they can issue in the new system.
Now, let's talk about the ticking time bomb that's fueling this entire crisis. The debt market. Central banks have created a vicious cycle where the more debt they issue, the more debt they need just to keep the system afloat. We're talking about trillions of dollars being pumped into the global economy with no end in sight. The problem, this level of debt is completely unsustainable. Every time a new wave of debt is issued, it drives down the value of our currencies. This means that the purchasing power of your money is slowly being chipped away. Year after year, central banks know this. They've been artificially suppressing interest rates to make this mountain of debt seem manageable, but the reality is they're just delaying the inevitable collapse. When this debt bubble finally bursts, and make no mistake, it will, it's going to send shockwaves through the global financial system. What's even more concerning is that the people in charge are betting against their own system. Central banks and the wealthiest institutions are hoarding gold and silver at rates we've never seen before. They know that once the debt market implodes, only real assets, like silver, will hold value. This is why Gregory Mannarino believes silver is one of the smartest investments you can make right now. While the rest of the world is distracted by the highs and lows of stock markets, silver quietly remains the ultimate hedge against the coming debt-driven meltdown.
First of all, it wasn't the Fed that bailed it out. We bailed it out. We were forced to pay for it all, of course. But look, the mechanism is very, very simple. And I've been trying to tell people this for I don't know how long. Okay, the mechanism of artificially suppressed rates, okay, has robbed these pension plans and people themselves of trillions, literally trillions of dollars in realized gains. It's grand theft on an unimaginable scale. And it's a mechanism here to bring the entire system down with it and bring the people down with it as well. This is the mechanism behind what we're seeing here collectively by central banks in their quest, in their mission, which has been incredibly successful, to destroy, deconstruct the current system by fostering an illusion of prosperity, by inflating the stock market on the back of that. Global debt ballooning like we've never seen. I mean, since the 2008 moment where the system actually died. It was dead then. It died then. This is nothing but a drug-induced high, drug in the form of debt, credit, however you want to look at it, that has propped up this system artificially, and it's not sustainable. The fact of the matter is the system is bankrupt from every angle that you want to look at. Not only is it bankrupt, it's negative bankrupt by exponents. And the system, unfortunately, via this mechanism here and world leaders colluding with their central banks to foster this global debt expansion, is directly responsible for what's happening to people's pension plans and the trillions of dollars that they've been robbed of via this mechanism of suppressed rates here. It's an incredible thing to see. It really, really is. And I've been telling people for 10 years now, the distortions that we see are monumental. There's nothing like it. We don't have an economy.
The more debt that central banks issue, the more they devalue their own currencies. We're already seeing the effects of this with inflation running rampant. But what happens when this currency devaluation accelerates? The dollar, which has been the backbone of the global economy for decades, is losing value at a faster rate than many realize. And once people start losing confidence in the dollar, we'll see its decline speed up, possibly to the point of no return. History has shown us what happens when currencies collapse. Just look at Venezuela or Zimbabwe, where hyperinflation made their money practically worthless overnight. The U.S. dollar, while far more stable in the past, is now on a dangerous path towards similar instability. Central banks' money printing schemes have inflated the dollar to unsustainable levels. The more they print, the less value your hard-earned dollars hold. This is exactly what Gregory Mannarino has been warning about. The collapse of fiat currencies is inevitable, and we're watching it unfold in real time. But here's where silver comes in. And like paper money, silver has intrinsic value. Throughout history, silver has acted as a store of value, especially in times of economic collapse. When currencies fall, tangible assets like silver rise. This makes silver not just a smart investment, but a necessary one if you want to protect your wealth from the inevitable devaluation of the dollar.
Let this opportunity kind of pass me by. I did try to correct it to the best of my ability. When someone asked me during my live stream, Greg, what is constitutional money? This is the situation we're in. People don't even know that we are assured a constitutional money system, gold and silver, commodity-backed system, a wealth-based system. Nowhere, not one word, not one syllable does it say in the U.S. Constitution that we are going to have a debt-based system. Any constitutional lawyer out here, prove me wrong. Where does it say that we have to have a debt-based system? It's nowhere. But that's what we have right now, and that's why we are in the situation that we are. Nation slaves, individual slaves to this debt-based system for which our Constitution says no. So the law is on our side, and on July 4th, 2025, we are going to peacefully march on the Federal Reserve building in Washington, D.C. We want media attention. We want social media attention. We want to raise awareness. We want people to understand that this organization here is illegal. What they're doing is counterfeiting. What they're doing is running a Ponzi scheme. And all this has done is destroyed the people of the world. This should be a worldwide event because every single central bank operates in the same manner. Every developed nation in this world is utilizing the same system. Does anybody find that kind of interesting? And looking at the situation here in the world, this inflation issue, people who live in their boxes believe it's just a United States issue. It's a worldwide phenomenon. But people, again, they're so fixated and put in their little boxes. They can't think. They can't function. And that's the mechanism who divide and conquer, the oldest trick in the book, unfortunately. But yes, absolutely. It's time for us to make a difference here. It's in our own hands. Now, in many ways, we've been responsible for allowing this mechanism to go on, but now it's time to shut that door, now to open up a new door, bring us back to what we are assured by the U.S. Constitution, a real sound money system. Sound about right?
Now, Let's look at how this crisis is affecting your personal savings and retirement. Gregory Mannarino has been raising the alarm about the looming pension risk for years, and it's becoming more apparent every day. Corporations are shedding their pension obligations at a record pace, handing them over to insurance companies through a process called pension risk transfer. While this may seem like a routine financial move, it's setting the stage for disaster. These insurance companies, just like the banks during the 2008 financial crisis, are taking on risks they may not be able to handle. When the financial markets experience another major collapse, driven by the unsustainable debt we just talked about, these insurance companies may not have the liquidity to cover all those pensions. This could leave retirees who thought they had a secure future in a devastating situation. The same is true for personal savings. With inflation eroding the value of cash, simply keeping money in the bank means you're losing purchasing power every day. But what if you've had a way to safeguard your wealth? This is why Mannarino stresses the importance of tangible assets like silver. Silver, unlike paper investments or savings, doesn't lose value when inflation rises. In fact, as the dollar weakens, silver tends to rise in value, making it a key asset for those looking to protect their retirement and savings from the ongoing economic turmoil.
Okay. The trigger for me, the final straw for Greg Mannarino, was Trump's call to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. When I saw that headline, and when I first saw it was on CNBC front page, I read it and it just hit me the wrong way. I always urge people to use their God-given gift of intellect. And when you read it, look at it, and then let it sink in. It just hit me the wrong way. I said, hold on a minute, what's missing here? Why aren't we being told that we need to be the constitutional money capital of the world? Instantaneously, this is what hit me right in my face, like a punch in the face. And I said, oh, this is it. I said, this is it. It's time. People are looking towards false leaders, as they usually do, false gods, however you want to play it, which generally leads them to destruction. I mean, you go back in history as far as you want to go. Anyway, with regard to that, I said, that's enough. It's time that I feel that our audiences, yours, mine, a lot of other people here with large enough audiences, we all feel the same way. So why not now get behind something that we are guaranteed? We are assured, as you well know, everyone knows this. Actually, that's not true, not everyone, that we are assured a sound money system in the U.S. Constitution. That ship there is the U.S. Constitution. I put that there for a reason. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. Some people, hey, Greg, is that the U.S. Constitution? Yes, that is. Okay, this is the law. It's the law of the people. This has been stripped out by the mechanisms that you outlined perfectly. Again, right before I started talking. So if we know that we are assured this by the law of the land, which is the U.S. Constitution, it's time we take the system back. And, another trigger for me was on my own blog. And I really...
When people think of precious metals, gold is often the first thing that comes to mind. But Gregory Mannarino, along with other experts, has highlighted why silver might actually be the better investment right now. While both gold and silver offer protection in times of economic instability, silver has some distinct advantages that make it stand out in today's market. First, silver is far more affordable than gold. This means that for the average investor, silver is much more accessible. You can accumulate a significant amount of silver without needing to spend a fortune, making it a practical option for building a hedge against inflation and currency collapse. Silver also has a strong industrial demand, being used in everything from electronics to solar panels. This industrial usage gives silver an additional layer of value that gold doesn't have to the same extent. As the world shifts toward greener technologies, the demand for silver is expected to skyrocket. Mannarino argues that silver is currently undervalued compared to gold, and that this disparity won't last forever. When economic crises hit and investors flock to precious metals, silver tends to catch up to gold, often outperforming it in percentage gains. This makes silver not just a safe haven, but an opportunity for significant growth as well. So while gold may get the headlines, silver is the hidden gem that could provide even greater returns as the economic situation deteriorates.
I love how you picked up on that, man. It's amazing. People hear things, but they don't listen. They see things, but they don't look. So this is how the mechanism works. Deceive the people by whatever mechanism they can, by false facts, by putting out information that sounds right, but it's really not. It's, especially in this environment where you got people so divided, they believe whatever comes out of this person's mouth and whatever comes out of this person's mouth is gospel truth. Obviously, that's not the case here. We're being led to destruction, period, the end. And it's these same entities who these two work for. They don't work for us. How is it that, let's see, under Obama, Trump, and Biden, we've seen more millionaires and billionaires created as the middle class is being systematically erased because they work for the middle class? Is that really? It is not consistent, just as you said. It's unbelievable, really. But it shouldn't surprise anyone. Anyone that has one functioning brain cell, anyone that follows our work knows exactly what's going on.
One of the most telling signs of where the global economy is headed comes from the actions of the central banks themselves. While they publicly insist that inflation is under control and the financial system is stable, their behind-the-scenes behavior tells a very different story. Central banks around the world have been quietly hoarding gold at unprecedented rates. This is a move that signals their lack of confidence in their fiat currencies they're printing. But why the gold? Central banks know that when the house of cards that build on debt and fiat money starts to fall, only tangible assets like gold and silver will hold real value. What's even more striking is that hedge funds and the wealthiest individuals are following suit, accumulating massive amounts of both gold and silver. These elite players are preparing for something that the general public is largely unaware of, a financial reset where traditional currencies could become worthless. This is where silver comes into play. While gold hoarding grabs the headlines, silver is flying under the radar, but it shouldn't be ignored. Silver offers the same protection as gold, with the added benefit of being much more affordable and potentially more lucrative as demand rises. Gregory Mannarino's message is clear. If the central banks and billionaires are betting on precious metals to safeguard their wealth, shouldn't we be paying attention to?
Here, it's exactly what you and I have been telling people since forever. You and I have been out here for a very long time. And honestly, the people that follow our work have benefited greatly from that. I really hope that this grows and people who follow our work share this kind of stuff. You're not going to find out this information from anywhere else. But the mechanism here is and then you got the blame game here. Presidents don't have money printers. Okay, they have no. Inflation is a side effect of monetary policy, which is implemented by central banks. Period. All right. And it takes a finite amount of time for all these borrowed dollars to make their way through an economy. What Obama did, what Trump did, what Biden continues to do right now, this inflating of debt, they don't have the ability to do that. They work with the central banks, obviously, to do that. Well, now we're seeing the effect of inflation here, but it's not the fault of Trump, Biden, or Obama for that matter here. They work with the central banks to cause this to happen. Now it's working its way through the economy. There's a lag effect here in an environment where the economy is extremely slow or dying, which we've had here since the meltdown of 2008. Now those extra bills have finally made it through, trickling down to the people. By the time that the cash gets to the people at the lower rung, it's already been massively devalued. So we're seeing this effect here again, going back to the Cantillon effect of how it works, how new money benefits the 1% and 2%ers, and then it takes a finite amount of time, in this case years, to make its way. And I told people this would happen from many years ago. It's so obvious this is how it works. But again, the lies, the distractions, the blame game, the tic-tac charade that Trump put on recently, it was unbelievable. Did you see that one? Dude, it was epic, man. He had tic-tacs. He used a normal size, what we're used to, tic-tac thing, and he showed the new one, which is really smaller, and blamed this is obviously shrinkflation here. Same price here, blaming it on Biden. Of course, it wasn't Biden's fault, nor is it Trump's fault, who borrowed more into existence or helped the Fed borrow more into existence than the two other presidents out of the last three. But again, can't point a finger at the Fed. It's an insane situation here. They must be left blameless here. And you're getting the same thing. Why is it that we have both presidential selectees saying the same thing? And they're both now on board with cryptocurrency. Don't you find that a little odd? When Trump made his move to crypto, Did you see his new thing, his NFTs? They're unbelievable. One is a superhero, and one is him, the crypto president with a lightning bolt. It's a beautiful thing. Selling them for $99 a piece, digital trading cards. Part of his new plan to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. We need a constitutional money capital of the world. That's what we need to be. But of course, it's all a mechanism. You got both selectees saying the same thing with regard to the monetary system. Okay, let's promise the people lower rates. How does this help you and me? It doesn't. All it does is, again, fulfill the corporate agenda. We need higher rates. We need a stronger currency. Polar opposite of what we're being sold here. All this does is empower the Fed, central banks around the world. Period. The end. People can't see it. They're being led to the slaughter. Too bad. Not you, not me, nor the people who follow our work here. They're well versed in what's going on here. And then this move. When Trump became the crypto king, whatever he calls himself now, I actually was very excited about it. Not going to lie, everyone knows it. I talked about it. Because I'm a crypto enthusiast. I own a lot of this stuff. Everybody knows it. Greg Manarino's an open book. Tell you how it is. Okay. But when then Kamala came out. Now she's the crypto queen. We have the crypto king and the crypto queen, both on the same page. That's when I said, whoa, what's going on here? People need to start asking questions.
Gregory Manarino has been sounding the alarm on the impending collapse of the debt-based financial system for years, and his solution is clear. Invest in silver. But how should you go about it? Manarino believes in diversifying your approach to silver investments, and he lays out a straightforward strategy that anyone can follow. First, he recommends holding physical silver. Physical assets provide the ultimate protection against financial instability because they are tied to volatile paper markets. You own it outright, and no bank or financial institution can manipulate its value like they can with stocks or bonds. In times of crisis, when fiat currencies lose value, having silver in your possession ensures that you have something of real, tangible worth. Manarino also suggests considering silver exchange-traded funds. That's for those who want more liquidity in their investment. These can be easier to trade quickly, allowing you to take advantage of price movements without needing to physically store large amounts of silver. However, Manarino stresses that ETFs should be seen as a supplement to holding physical silver, not a replacement. Finally, he highlights the importance of getting into silver now, while it's still undervalued. As the global financial crisis deepens, the demand for silver will skyrocket and prices will follow. This means that the window for getting at a lower price is closing fast. Manarino's message is simple. Silver isn't just an investment. It's your insurance policy against the collapse of the current financial system.
We need access to resources. That's the truth here. I think that's going to be the biggest thing moving forward. I've been telling people this for a very, very long time. They're going to force us into a resource scarcity kind of a situation here. We need access to water. I mean, that should be a big one. And other things too. With regard to prepping for where we're going, I'm probably not the best guy to be asking that. I do believe from a financial standpoint, I have it down. I also told people that we need to embrace each other, love each other, care about each other, be charitable to each other here. Realize that we are responsible for each other. And there are people out there that want to us to hate each other. And we already see it here with the political spectrum, the nonsense, the lies. Where does all that stuff come from? The lies, the deceptions, the distractions. It doesn't come from a nice place. I think most people can understand that here. And anyway, but with regard to all this other stuff, sure, we need to be ready. We need to have the high ground across the board and be ready for anything. We're not done. We're going to see vast debt expansion moving forward, more distortions across the spectrum of the financial markets. I think 2025 is just lining up in a very bad way. Everything I see, all the people I talk to, I make no secret of that I talk to people. I have friends that are still working in the mega banks for as long as for decades, and I talk to these people all the time. And let me just say this: there are people on the inside that are looking out for other people too. They realize how bad this is and what's being set up, and these people, I don't know. Like I hear things, I talk, and everything I hear and talk about, I openly discuss on my blog. So maybe just a little bit of inside info into people that there are people that don't like what they're seeing, that do work at these major institutions here, that gotta they can't come out and publicly say this stuff, but they know what's going on. They all do. I used to be friends with probably half the people on CNBC. We used to, and they would tell me straight out, we know what's going on. We just can't say it. I mean, I think people are aware of that too.
The U.S. dollar has long been seen as the world's most stable currency, but that perception is changing rapidly. Central banks have flooded the system with so much money that the value of the dollar is eroding faster than most people realize. Gregory Mannarino has been warning that the collapse of the dollar isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And once it begins, it will happen much faster than anyone expects. What we're seeing now is the early stages of this collapse. Inflation is just the first symptom. As the dollar weakens, confidence in it starts to falter. Once that happens, other countries, investors, and even average citizens will look for alternatives. And that's when things could really spiral out of control. Historically, when fiat currencies fail, they fail quickly. Confidence evaporates and people rush to exchange their cash for anything that holds real value, whether it's gold, silver, or other hard assets. Mannarino emphasizes that we are nearing this critical tipping point. With central banks unable to curb inflation and debt ballooning out of control, the dollar's days are numbered. And when it finally collapses, those holding dollars will see their purchasing power wiped out almost overnight. But those holding silver, they will be protected. Silver's value is not tied to any government or central bank. It has stood the test of time as a store of value, especially during periods of economic chaos. The collapse of the dollar will send silver prices soaring, making it the ultimate hedge against this looming catastrophe.
I think so too. I think this should be bigger. If we can get people anywhere you're able to go to and start to raise awareness, absolutely. I think this should be a worldwide event. Central banks around the world, people should be doing this. I chose July 4th for a few reasons. I understand that it's a holiday. And I think that is, again, look, I'm not looking to interact with these people at the Federal Reserve at all. I just want to raise awareness. I want people, the last thing that they want is any kind of media attention, whether it's social media is way more powerful in my view. But we want people to record this. We want people to have opportunities to talk. I want people to educate themselves on the system. Everyone who follows our work is already well versed in all this. But it's just so important that we at least try to do something here. We got to do this. We have no one else working for us here. It's not the Trumps nor the Kamalas are both calling to empower the Federal Reserve, just like we witnessed during Trump's tenure. He empowered the Federal Reserve even more so than both of the other guys, including his $3.6 trillion that was pulled into existence via convict and warp speed vile weapons. But we could talk about that another time if you want. But anyway, we just have to remember that we the people have the law on our side. We're supposed to be able to govern ourselves. Well, it's time we did it. All right, we don't need to put our faith in any person here. We have, again, not just the law on our side here, but I also believe it's way bigger than that. And I think you kind of get my.
So where does all of this leave us? Central banks are failing at their core mission to control inflation, and their greed and negligence have brought us to the brink of a global economic collapse. The dollar, once the world's most trusted currency, is now teetering on the edge of oblivion. Debt is spiraling out of control, and the value of our money is disappearing right before our eyes. Gregory Mannarino's message is clear. Silver is not just an investment. It's your best shot at survival in the coming economic storm. Unlike fiat currencies, silver has intrinsic value. It's a physical asset that has been used for centuries to store wealth, especially in times of crisis. As the dollar collapses and inflation runs wild, silver's value will only rise. The wealthiest individuals in central banks already know this. That's why they've been hoarding precious metals for years. Now is the time to act. Silver is still undervalued, but it won't stay that way for long. As the financial system continues to unravel, the demand for silver will skyrocket, and so will its price. This isn't just speculation. It's a proven pattern that's played out time and time again in history. When currencies fail, silver and gold become the last safe haven. So, if you're looking for a way to protect your wealth from the coming collapse, silver is your answer. Don't wait until it's too late. Start securing your financial future today by investing in silver, and take control before the dollar loses its value completely. And as always, make sure to subscribe to stay informed about the latest updates on the financial crisis. This isn't financial advice, but it's a perspective you can't afford to ignore.
More than that, buddy. And that's exactly so. I'm so happy that you brought that up. Look, the last thing that they want is a peaceful protest. We have the law on our side. Okay. What they want here is people to, first of all, I've been telling people for the longest time, don't fall through the trapdoors. They want a reason to steal our freedoms and liberties away. This is, all the permits are being set up right now. I'm actually talking to one lawyer so far about this, starting a legal action against the Fed as well. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. We're going to need more than one lawyer here. All right, we're going to need a team here, and it's an interesting endeavor. But what I think is very positive. First of all, they're going to try to block this every way that they possibly can. The last thing that the Federal Reserve wants is for any one person or any group of people to shed any light on what they've been doing, what they're actually up to, what their grand plan is.
Yeah, let me just interject there. That make no mistake. What Greg has pointed out, what you've pointed out to all of us, is that this grand evolution that has gone on with the destruction of our constitutional currency, et cetera, has been a stealing of power from the people, away from the people, the God-given rights, and placing it in the hands of a very elite few. So any attempt to say, no, we demand that the right and proper and legal and constitutional power of being able to hold on to your true money, et cetera, constitutional money, be returned to the people, is absolutely going to be seen as and resisted as a attempt for the people to take back their power from those few elite. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I expect there to be plants here. I expect there to be people who are put into our crowd to deliberately cause an uprising here, violence. These people are going to be paid to do it. Okay, we are going to meet resistance here. If you are coming to this march on July 4th, 2025, and you see a group of people start to get rowdy or something, understand what you're really looking at here. This is more than likely a plant, okay? Back away. Just leave them be, move away. Do not participate in whatever that they are doing, because it's a setup here. It's a setup to draw attention away from what we're trying to do. Expect this in any kind of event, like especially something as huge as this. We are now stepping us up against the establishment, the real government. They won't have that. We're going to run into many, many obstacles here, no doubt about it. Just be ready for it. Any kind of violence, get away from it. This is a plant. People who are following our work realize they're not going to fall through this trapdoor, because that's what they want. I've been telling people, do not fall through these trapdoors here. They want a reason to pull our freedoms and our liberties. Oh, we can't have this. Look at what happened there. It's just a setup here. It's not real. No one that follows our work is looking to create a violence here. All right. You can't achieve anything through violence. We achieve it through peace. I think that's a very strong lesson that we've been learning throughout history. Peace is how you do it, not through war. Who benefits from war? Pain, death, not us. Okay, they do. So we're going to avoid that like the plague. Okay, this is a peaceful march. Just maintain your understanding of this. There will be resistance. There's going to be plants in the crowd, people being paid to get people angry and maybe destroy things. It's the last